So we're back for episode 4 of Gamify 24/7. Hello, hello, hello.
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 It feels like ages.
We revealed last week that we recorded last week's episode, let me see now, 2 weeks ago now, which seems like forever. We've all been travelling around the world in that time, and, well, 2 of us have. And
That's all of us, yes.
So I'm going to start with a couple of bits of DLC news that might interest people. Starting with Battlefront. For those that are still playing Star Wars Battlefront, I do occasionally still delve into a game of Star Wars Battlefront. I think the main reason is that I'm not very good at shooters, and this one is a little easier to sort of master than most, because it just tends to be a little bit less convoluted with your inventory system, for example. And Rogue One DLC lands on December the 6th. Is anyone excited about that?
You know what? I've not actually played the game, but I remember talking about this a year E3 before, and saying it looked amazing, and I was worried that it might be a bit sort of kind of basic or whatever, but it looks like it's quite cool. And also they've got a mission in there, a VR mission, that's going to be free for PlayStation VR owners as well. So I'm looking forward to playing that and getting a shot of that. I'll have to borrow the game though first.
I won't lie, that's actually a game I'm actually considering buying VR for. Mainly because the developer of the VR content is actually Criterion Games, if any of you are familiar. So the last game they did was Burnout Paradise. So they've been busy on this title. Obviously they had a few games that were cancelled, but I miss them, goddammit.
I've got it actually, I've got the game. And I got it for Christmas last year. So I had a good few months where I was really into it, and then Overwatch came out and I was like, I'm gonna play this instead. So yeah, I don't know if I'll bother getting DLC for it, but it was fun at the time actually. I don't know, how do a lot of people still play it? I've not.
Yeah, it's still pretty populated when you go on. To be honest, it's not difficult to find a game. You don't have to wait around for very long, which is good. I think there will be a bit of interest in this, probably because they've already said that Battlefront 2 is coming out. It's going to be late 2017. I mean, the big criticism, as we all know, with Battlefront was the fact that there wasn't a solo single-player campaign. And I guess it wasn't designed that way. I mean, I think there's something like 3 or 4 different licenses flying about for Star Wars games at the moment anyway. So you're probably going to get that from elsewhere. But there is talk about there being a campaign mode in Battlefront 2. And whether or not I get this, I don't know. I'll be honest, it's another expense for a game that, you know, does it change things massively? I think for the VR element, yeah, for sure.
Doesn't it cost about £10 now?
Yeah, I don't have a price listed. I don't think they've released the price, but usually you're around about that kind of price for DLC, and it's not bad. I mean, if you're going to be playing it anyway, if it's a game that you like, it's new content, it makes sense, you know. I
think you can buy the game now though, brand new, for about £10. And
yeah.
That content's free, is it not? Was it not free update?
Maybe it's free, because you definitely got one from Force Awakens for free. You definitely got a new map when that came out last year.
Yeah, I've heard that too, that the VR stuff is free.
Yeah.
Well, it seems to be a trend now, like they're doing it with Final Fantasy, you get the VR for free. They're doing it for Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, where you get the VR things for free, so I think it's just a case of take our tech demo, hopefully it's good.
It's like a push as well, like rewards for the VR owners, so you want to buy it.
If you own the Ultimate Edition, then all the DLC is free. If you don't own the Ultimate Edition, then you pay for the additional content, and that'll be the same for this one too. So if you own the Ultimate Edition, and obviously we're talking about the non-VR stuff here, but I would think you'll probably be able to pick up the Ultimate Edition now for fairly cheap. So maybe a good time to go and get it in ahead of next year's sequel. Get it cheap, get the DLC, and it's a decent shooter. It's actually pretty solid. It's maybe a little samey, but it's good fun. You know, if you fancy just going in and shooting some stuff and not worrying too much.
Yeah, if you like Star Wars, there's a lot of nostalgia value in there as well.
It's got Rogue One content, doesn't it? That's what it is. It's Rogue One stuff, isn't it, in there now?
So it's Rogue One DLC, specifically Rogue One. So that for anyone that's a fan of the franchise and is excited already about Rogue One, I would suspect that those will be the types of people that will be going out and getting that.
One thing regarding that, when I first saw the trailer for it, and you know how it ends with Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker sort of clashing together.
Oh yes, indeed.
Well, that was before the film came out. I thought, oh my god, like there's going to be this epic battle, and it wasn't in the film, and I was so disappointed.
Well, let's look at some of the other stuff that's coming out. Uncharted 4 are releasing a new survival mode. It's going to be out in time for Christmas. Uncharted 4, I think about 2/3 of the way through. I've kind of picked up and played and then put it down for a while. Uncharted is one of those games that I find that I play and play and play, and then I put it away for a bit and forget, and then it takes me a while to get back to playing it. But then when I do, I wonder why I didn't play it in the first place the whole way through, because it's a brilliant game. I mean, it really is stunning. I'd imagine on your PS4 Pro, it's probably even better than our pathetic versions, but
possibly. I need to get it and try it out. I was going to say, so you're 2/3 through, and you've still got 1/3 that's Uncharted.
Hey, there we go. Every week.
You've been sitting on that.
I was waiting for about 5 minutes there.
I could tell you're waiting for me to shut up.
Yeah, it'd be good to see what it's like with the PlayStation 4 Pro, but I need to get a 4K TV first before I can test it out. I've got a measly 10-year-old plasma TV that struggles to do 1080p. I can do 720p and 1080i. That's how old it is. So I need to get a new TV now, so I can get HDR.
You gotta get with the times, Shaun. You gotta get with the times.
What am I like, man? I've got like PlayStation VR and I've got a crappy old TV. Constant.
Saying that, you'll still get all the new fancy textures, because that's one of the few games on PS4 Pro right now that has got all the new textures, and that's what Naughty Dog's actually been surprisingly good with.
It's what, 60 frames per second, though, isn't it? 1080p or something.
I think that's an option, because you can choose what you want with certain games. Do you want resolution and better textures, or do you want frame rate? So I imagine that's an option in there for people like yourself.
Yeah.
Speaking about combining old tech with new tech, I was listening to amazingly, and I'm slightly ashamed of this, but another podcast.
Betrayal.
And it was specifically a Retro Gamers podcast, and they were talking about how they'd hooked up a Spectrum to PSVR and had modded it so they could play Spectrum games in virtual reality. Can you imagine?
Sounds cool.
It sounds cool, but I mean, what would it have looked like? It would have looked terrible.
Virtual Boy. It would have looked like a Virtual Boy.
Yeah, exactly. Terrible, like I said. Anyway, so Uncharted 4 are getting some new content, and it's the new survival mode. It's a co-op and single-player edition that's going to launch in mid-December, but it's a wave-based mode, so it's for you or you and a friend to take on swarms and to try and... the usual kind of wave-based thing where you try and progress up the levels. Kat, is that something that would interest you?
Considering I'm still on Uncharted 2, probably not. I got the collection for my not the birthday that was recent, the one before that, and I was still only on the second game. The first one was okay, it was good, but the way that everyone hyped it up to me, they were like, Uncharted, best series ever, derp derp derps, and I just, honestly, I was expecting this amazing thing, but it's basically just Indiana Jones but even cockier.
That sounds amazing. What are you talking about?
Sorry, again, everyone.
Is this just what happens with Uncharted, or is it just us?
No, I think it does. I think it's because, you could ask me what the story is, and I'll be like, right, well, she's wanting to steal an old artifact, but there's bad people who don't want him to because of some reason, and there's also a girl, and that's it, and that's the story. And I don't know which country he's in. He's in some jungle. That's about it now. I don't know. It's one of those really forgettable things, and he has a snappy line or two. I don't know. I don't really find him a very fun character that I relate with.
What's funny, go back 30 years with video games, or 20 years ago, that story you just explained there was mind-blowingly good.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. And it's I'll say to people as well, I was Xbox 360 for life back in the day. So I was a Gears of War fan, proper loved it. And some people will say to me that Uncharted is better than Gears of War, and I'm sorry to you guys, but it's not. It's not.
One more very quick piece of news for you before we go on and talk about some new Switch rumours, and that is the very sexy handheld ZX Spectrum handheld is coming out in time for Christmas.
Is that the Vita one or something it's called?
Yeah, it's the Vega Plus. It's the ZX Spectrum Vega Plus. It was an Indiegogo project back in February. They did a fundraiser for it, and it's going to start shipping to the backers from. Well, it's done that already. It's already started shipping, so it's doing that at the moment, and it'll be out for general purchase. It's got 1,000 licensed games built in. You can get another 14,000 available for free download, and it'll cost £100 at launch.
Who ever plays all that games, honestly?
It's insane, and the thing is, they're like the file sizes are teensy.
Yeah.
So it's like, see, for emulation, don't condone it. I'm just mentioning it. I would never do it, but it's like you go. It's like, oh, here's like a 1 megabit collection, and then it's like, oh, 10 billion games.
Yeah,
Who would have thought? I actually have 2 Spectrums, so
I will say, from a nostalgic point of view, this does look quite cool. But yeah, it's probably something that, much like most games on the Spectrum, I'll play for about a minute and then get bored.
Yeah, I think it's like really for a hardcore retro sort of collector. I don't know how much appeal it's going to have to the normal gamer. Limited.
I'm quite actually interested in it because I actually have like 2 Spectrums myself because I collect vintage computers, and sitting down and being like, I'm committed to playing this crappy game that came out by one guy and was sold for 90 pence. I'm going to wait 40 minutes for it to load off of this cassette. That's a bit draining, so I'm actually quite excited to play them on a handheld because obviously, as well as that, it's going to be smaller, so the resolution's not going to be a problem.
What console was it the ET came out on?
Atari 2600.
Was it? Alright, I was going to say, because maybe I had loved that bit if it's the Spectrum then.
That was the landfill game.
Yeah.
Anton, you've just pretty much described my childhood there. So. All right, let's move on to the Switch then. Shaun, we've got some more rumours about the Switch launch.
Tons of rumours. Like I mentioned before, Laura Kate Dale from Let's Play Video Games, she seems to be one of the main sources for leaking out rumours, and she's got a couple of contacts, one from Nintendo, I think one from Ubisoft as well. So she's got a couple of different sources, and they've kind of came together in the past before the Switch was announced, and they got most of the stuff right, almost all of it right. The controllers, the Joy-Cons, game stuff and everything. And she's been kind of slowly releasing bits like by bit. And she put out one just recently where they were talking about the launch lineup and games, and it looks like Zelda's going to be delayed. So that's going to be a bit later on, which, again, it was never really confirmed for launch day. It's just, I think everyone assumed it was going to be launch day because it'd been delayed so many times. And with the Switch coming out in March, we thought it'd come at the same time. But that looks like that's actually getting delayed. It's taking a bit longer to translate it due to the size. And it looks like there's the Mario game that we discussed before, apparently is much further on. It's literally complete. That's going to be a launch game. And then there's other rumours with things like about an updated Splatoon. There's going to be a built-in pack for the more expensive version of it. The prices we talked about this, Anton, there's 2 prices now. It's like there's a £200 price point, which is for the base unit and the dock. And then it looks like there's a £250 bundle here in the UK that's going to have probably Splatoon built into it, and it might come with the extra controller, the Pro Controller. So yeah, there's been a bunch of announcements about games. There's a Pokemon game that's possibly going to be Pokemon Sun together, so Pokemon Stars it's getting called, and that's going to be like kind of what they've done with Pokemon Gold and Silver, and they brought out Diamond, I think it was, as the third part. So there's rumours of that, which will be massive. There's Splatoon, there's apparently a port of Xenoblade Chronicles X getting done, and then the Skyrim that was shown during the trailer, that's apparently, based on her sources, still designed for launch or still targeted for launch, but there is conflicting things where they're saying that's going to not make launch day either. So yeah, there's loads of games apparently coming out for a bunch of games. It's looking like it's going to have a pretty cool launch lineup. I think Mario probably is the best one to go with for a launch. Zelda would be awesome, but I think Mario's just got the mass appeal, especially with Super Mario Run coming out and stuff very shortly. So,
yeah, interesting. Anton, is there anything there that excites you? It's a bit disappointing, I guess, with regards to Zelda.
My opinion of this entire scenario is, I want them all. Yeah, I'm so sold, because you're like paying £200, you're getting a tablet, handheld, home console, and it's got Skyrim.
Yeah.
Like, what else do you want? Catch us like
Zelda.
looking disapproved.
I know, it's like, I know, we keep coming back to this, and it's like, am I ever going to be excited about it?
£200?
No, probably not. Well, I've already got Skyrim for the blooming 360. I could get it from a PS4 if I wanted to. I don't see myself sitting around in the train station or whatever, like, yep, I'm gonna go do this quest. It's gonna take me a while.
In the train station, how happy?
You could go to a party and bring your Nintendo Switch with your Joy-Cons and teeny controllers.
Honestly, my Vita's in my bag every day. Potential thieves, please don't listen to this. It's in my bag every day because I think maybe I'll play it at my lunch or whatever. And you know what I do? Buy my lunch and I sit and talk to people. Sorry to sound...
Bloody socialising.
I know, I'm sorry. I like to talk to people.
Are you a human? Jeez.
So yeah, I really don't think I need to spend any more money on something like that. But I've heard you guys say you're going to try and convince me.
£200, come on.
Was that it? Was that the big thing you said? £200, Catriona?
Animal Crossing on a console that costs £200. And you have it on the go, you have it on the TV.
Yeah.
Like, or they could be like, also here's it on 3DS, and I'd be like, good, I have one of those. I'll play that.
I know one game you like, Persona 5.
Yes, which has been delayed.
Maybe it's been delayed for that. I was actually thinking that.
I don't think so. I don't think so. And also, it was because it was only going to be coming out on PS4 anyway. Not even Vita. Like the previous Personas were all on the PSP or on
all
the Vita.
Of them, really? Okay.
Well, I don't know what Shin Megami Tensei, like the first two, were all about, but Persona 3 was definitely PSP, and Persona 4 and Persona 4 Gold and Vita. But Persona 5 was not going to be Vita, which I was like, oh, I didn't have a PS4 at the time they announced it, and I was like, I'm going to get a PS4 just for that. So I don't think they would turn around now and be like, also for the new Switch. So
Nintendo, if you're listening, you get an extra buyer if you get Persona 5 on there. You maybe would if
you got it on there, and for some reason it came out before PS4, maybe I would go there, but I'm a big fan of trophies, which is another reason I'm like...
Yeah, Nintendo needs some form of trophy system.
They need something like that.
Because it's nothing better than having your bragging right on your account. It's like, I have all of the video games. I am the best.
I love the platinums.
I completely agree with that. And it's interesting we're getting all this information about the Switch, of course, because we just 2 days ago celebrated the 10th birthday of which console?
The Wii!
Yes, indeed, yes.
Was the Wii, yeah. Oh, okay.
So the Wii,
yeah, sorry.
10 years ago,
sorry, I was thinking of Wii U there. I was thinking, wait a minute, it's only been 4 years. Yeah, the Wii.
So the Wii U may have passed by many people, although I have to say I still love the Wii U. But the Wii is 10 years old, and there's a bunch of really good games for the Wii. If you can pick them up now for about 15 quid. I mean, you can really get a Wii for next to nothing, and a load of games, things like Twilight Princess and Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, both good games, and there's the Super Mario Brothers Wii game was very good as well. And then of course it was the first kind of console to really change things and to introduce things like the bowling and all that kind of jazz.
I can still recall, I'm sure you guys can as well, maybe you, Anton, more than Kat, but I can recall before it was even announced and everyone was all wondering what it was going to be. There was rumours all over the place. And then there was the codename Revolution, which I thought was awesome. And then we finally saw the controller and everyone was like, what is that? And it's like a TV remote essentially. And everyone was kind of wondering what it was going to do. And then we finally found out it was going to be called the Wii. That got slide because of its name. And then it totally revolutionised things. Even though it's slated as a crappy console compared to the HD ones, it's still, it changed the gaming. It was like one of these
everybody had one.
Yeah, it's like people were going mental.
There's one in my work kitchen, like in the bit with a couch, and there's a TV and a Wii. I've never seen anyone playing it, but it's there. Everyone had a Wii, like absolutely everybody.
There was people went crazy for it.
Oh, it was sold out that Christmas. I remember because that's when my sisters got it for Christmas.
Let's face it, the Nintendo around about that time just got it right with the DS, which was very similarly everywhere. Everybody was playing a DS, regardless of age. The Brain Training was probably the game I saw more than anything else in the world at that time.
And the Nintendogs.
No, Nintendogs, yeah.
Loved that. That was so good.
I think at that time, as you say, Michael, the DS and the Wii were the two big. That's like two Nintendo's biggest selling consoles ever. 150 million for the DS and 100 and odd million or whatever, 101 million or whatever for the Wii. So they were massive. But I think that step away from competing against the Xbox and the PlayStation, instead of trying to compete on power, even though the GameCube was a powerful box, it was actually more powerful than the Xbox console. It's like it just didn't sell that well. and it kind of flopped a bit, and then the Wii was just that total departure, a total change of like this, the whole thing, whole paradigm change that they talked about, and it just dominated, and it just appealed to that mass market. And then with the Wii, they lost it all. It's like, what happened to them?
With the U?
Well, let's
Wii U, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Wii U, yeah.
let's see what happens with the Switch. It'll be interesting to see which way it goes. For me, it really could go either way at the moment, and it's going to be an interesting month, March, to see how well that starts to sell. Right, let's talk about PS Pro and VR. You have been having more experiences in the virtual reality world. I was spending last night watching the trailer and the playthrough from some of the actors from Star Trek, of the Star Trek one which is coming out. I know it's as sad as it sounds. And it looks amazing. I cannot wait to play it. I don't think I'm going to be able to hold out to Christmas. I think the Star Trek game is rumoured to be out in November. If it comes out then, I don't think I can wait till Christmas to get one. Am I getting hyped about nothing? You've played it, I haven't. Not Star Trek VR.
You know, I said this a couple of episodes ago, and we were talking about is AR or VR, what one's going to work and stuff. And you know, I've been playing a bit more and more of it, and I think CES is going to be a big telling point, because now there's that add-on that came for the wireless version of the HTC, where you can make it go wireless now. There's already showed off at one of the conferences where they showed new motion controllers. That's the Oculus Rift now got its own touch controllers just coming out. So it's all changing, you know, it looks like it's kind of moving quite fastly, or quite quickly, sorry. So I think, you know, if we can get a year out of the PlayStation VR, I think it's worth buying it, because you'll be able to like flog on for a couple of £100 in a year's time, and you'll be able to upgrade like the PlayStation 4 Pro or something. But I think in a year's time, the speed that it's going at, I think in a year's time, I'll be highly surprised if we don't see something within the next 6 months of a 4K screen, LED screens for both eyes, 4K, and with tetherless stuff starting to come out. Yeah, it might bump up the prices, but we're going to be there within 6 to 12 months. So I think if you're getting on now, get on now and enjoy it, because it's awesome for what it is. I don't think it's going to be the massive game changer right now. It still needs to come down in price. The Vive is still the best one to go for, I think, just because of room scale VR. That one's rock solid when you play it, and I think it does make a difference. However, the Vive and Oculus Rift, they're struggling for content right now. They're getting some really cool stuff like the Google VR Earth. I don't know if you guys saw that. It looks phenomenal. It's like if you actually watch it, you can fly over parts of the Earth and it looks really high detailed, and you can zoom in, it looks really, really cool. So I'm looking forward to getting that. There's another game on the Oculus Rift, I forgot what it's called now, but it's a space game, and you know Tested, the guys that done what's the program with Adam Savage?
I don't know people's names.
Yeah.
Sorry everyone. They showed me his face, I'd be like, yes.
There's a guy, Adam Savage, and his sort of kind of thing that he does, he's got a program called Tested, and Mythbusters, that's the one.
Oh,
and
yes.
one of the guys from his team done like their Tested program, where they've been testing out the VR headsets, and they checked one of the Oculus 3, whatever it's called, Facebook 3 thing or whatever, and they said it was amazing. And it's like you could grab onto things, you could pull yourself, and just the way they thought about it was really, really good. But that's an Oculus exclusive as far as I'm aware, so Vive's getting exclusives, Oculus is getting its own exclusives. PlayStation VR right now seems to have the best range of games, and it seems because Sony's obviously predominantly a games company, they seem to be putting a bit more effort into it. However, we did get stuff like The Martian just came out. I've not actually bought it based on what everyone was saying I was going to get it, but it's based off the film, and apparently it's garbage for what you're paying. You're basically paying about £1 for every minute of gameplay, so it's £20 for 20 minutes of a game. It's just terrible apparently, so people have been raging about that. So you know, prices still need to get a little bit more balanced. They need to improve some of the tech, but if you've got the money, Michael, I'd say dive in there, because some of the stuff is awesome.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, you've got your first go, and I was receiving messages from Shaun at the time saying how amazing Batman was as an experience.
So cool.
It looked so cool, and I had so much fun doing that heist thing. My god!
If I was going to go out and buy a PlayStation VR tonight, what games would you put on the list? Obviously, you haven't tried them all, but out of the ones you've tried.
I think I've tried most of the good ones.
Okay.
What I'd say is, I'd get Batman just for the experience. I'd get Job Simulator, it's awesome.
Totally.
I'm excited to see that one.
I'd recommend Robinson The Journey, but I think it's still too expensive. We got the review code from Crytek, so we're able to play it, but I think if I went and spent £40 on that, I'd be annoyed.
Okay.
There's a couple of other ones. There's Thumpers. I've not actually played that. I've got a demo for it. That's maybe awesome. Rush of Blood, Until Dawn Rush of Blood, is maybe really scary. I'm trying to think what else. Here They Lie, or Here We Lie. That's quite good for a sort of kind of freaky, trippy game. What else have I got? I'm trying to think what other games I've got in it. Just now, I got Eve Valkyrie, and I said to you guys before, I played it, and I felt like I was
sick.
but I played it again just recently, and I managed to unlock the ship where you can aim with your head, so I was right. It's the heavy ships you get, and then you can aim with your head properly. And I tried that, and I managed to play for about an hour and a bit, and I wasn't feeling that bad. So I think that shorter burst helped a lot, but I did also eat some ginger before I played it, and that's apparently meant to help as well on a serious level. So I think that made it a little bit more palatable from a brain to handle. So I definitely get that, but I'd say try a lot of these games in small bursts and build up your tolerance to motion sickness. Once you've got past that, it's just a blast, man. It's awesome. It's so cool. Yeah, it's so cool.
Well, I think I'm going to be safe to wait until Christmas, because I've just read that they've just in the last week or so changed the release date to March the 14th for Star Trek Bridge Crew. So we're safe. We're safe. I can wait till Christmas, and that way I don't feel guilty about buying.
March, make it so.
Very good number one. HTC Vive, Oculus Rift, and PlayStation VR. It's coming out on. So you've got your choice. I've got my choice of VR when it does happen. Okay. I think before we go into the retro corner this week, I'd like to very quickly mention the Golden Joystick Awards, which happened a few days ago. 34th Annual Golden Joystick Awards. They were held at the O2 Arena in London. The big winners in the gaming industry were Overwatch, The Witcher 3, and Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go.
Oh my lord. There's a new thing for Pokemon Go, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a couple of updates, they've done some new stuff. They've got a double XP weekend or something like that.
Okay.
It's like a thank you. It's like, thank you for playing our game and spend loads of money. Here's some double XP, so you've got to spend more money. Make us richer.
AK, please come back. We miss you. We miss money.
A very quick rundown of a couple of the awards, and if anyone completely disagrees, you can shout. Innovation of the Year was Pokemon Go. Nintendo Game of the Year was The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD. PlayStation Game of the Year was Uncharted 4.
Sorry.
You shouted it already. Xbox Game of the Year was Rise of the Tomb Raider. Handheld Game of the Year was Pokemon Go. And we have Most Wanted Game was Mass Effect Andromeda. And then Ultimate Game of the Year, Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, there's some alright ones there. Things like Nintendo Game of the Year, Twilight Princess.
That's what I was like. I was like, really?
That's a remake. Why is that a Game of the Year?
Yeah, it's like if they just put
Splatoon. Oh, that was the year before, wasn't it? Was it?
Not even that. Like, okay, saying that, we don't really have much to choose from the
Super
Wii U.
Mario Maker.
No, that was last year as well.
But if The Witcher 3 was getting awards there, The Witcher 3 came out in May 2015. Was it? Yeah, it wasn't this year. The Witcher
so The
3
Witcher 3, I think they specifically were talking about Blood and Wine. Was that not the?
That was this year.
This
I've
year's
not played
DLC.
it,
So.
Pokemon Go as a handheld game. I disagree with that massively.
I do.
It's a mobile game.
A little bit. It's a mobile game.
Yeah, it's a mobile game.
Yeah.
I need to be clearer with these categories. This is all my fault, because they go handheld / mobile game of the year.
You've made us angry for
We're going to have to sue you.
But I also what a pile of crap. Sorry, pardon my French.
Yeah.
Why would you lump them both together? Is that one category, Michael?
Yeah, to be fair, I think that those two are very different categories.
Different.
This is what Michael tells us, that he just lumped them together.
I know, yeah.
I just made it up. None of these awards are real.
Outrageous.
Like, you
Pokemon
sit
Go.
there and compare Uncharted, Golden Abyss to like what's a mobile game?
Oh, yeah.
Candy Crush.
Game. Yeah, Candy Crush.
Yeah, like you wouldn't compare them. They're not comparable.
No, they're not the same at all. Like I can think of so many better handheld games than Pokemon Go. I'm sorry. I know they're.
Quiz question for you. I'll ask you all individually. What do you think won both Competitive Game of the Year and Best Multiplayer Game of the Year? Anton?
Overwatch, maybe,
Shaun?
possibly.
So best what, sorry?
So we have Best Multiplayer Game and Best Competitive Game. The same game won both.
It's probably going to be Overwatch, but I'm going to say, to go a safe bet, I'm going to say Call of Duty.
And Kat?
I want to say Overwatch because I love it. But I'm feeling like this is a trick. I can see your face, and I'm thinking that this is a trick.
Looks too happy.
So I'm trying to think of another one that's maybe not as obvious.
Amiibo Festival, everybody's favourite.
Oh my god, it always comes back to it. No, what was another one? There must be one that's less obvious. I can't have one. It only just...
World of Tanks.
Oh, wait. What's the one? The one everyone... The Division. Did that one? Was it that?
Drum roll, please. The winner was Overwatch.
Oh, okay, sorry, he wasn't.
So there you go. Complete anticlimax, sorry.
We were right, all of us, but I thought you were tricking us. I thought I was being clever.
No, it was a double trick. It was one of those, tricks that aren't really a trick because they're not a trick or whatever. Anyway.
That isn't really a trick, that is a trick.
The truth, basically. Yeah.
Right, it's time for the Retro Corner, and it's me this week, so I'm very excited about this. Normally, I would have put in weeks of preparation, but I haven't because I'm lazy and no other excuse. But there are two that it came down to in my just. There's so many games that I've played over the year. That's what happens when you get old. And the two that I was going to pick between. First of all, have any of you heard of a game called Chase HQ?
Yes.
No.
That's a driving game.
Yeah. It's driving. I remember playing that in the Game Gear, maybe?
Yes. It was an arcade game. I can remember it in an arcade.
So it was originally an arcade game, and that's where I first got to play it, back when arcades were a thing that people would go and spend money actually playing as a day out. And then I got the Spectrum version. The Spectrum version was a full price game. Now, there weren't many of those. Most Spectrum games were either $1.99 or $2.99, that kind of price range for a budget game. And this one came out, I think it was the end of 1989, and it was $9.99, which is, that took me a while to save up as a 7-year-old, and I saved up and bought Chase HQ, and the Spectrum version was actually a very, very good version despite its limitations. The arcade game, if you get a chance on YouTube, have a look. It still looks pretty good. If you look up the Chase HQ 88 arcade version, it's pretty good. The premise is pretty simple. Basically, you are the police and you are chasing a bad guy, and as is obvious when you're chasing a bad guy, in order to get him to stop his car, you set his car on fire by bashing into him 100 times. I mean, that makes sense, right?
Obviously.
Of course.
So that's the premise. That's the premise of the game. And in the Spectrum version, obviously colours are particularly limited. So I can remember it as if it was yesterday. The screen is all green pretty much for the first level, and then the second level, ta-da, becomes yellow, like you're in the desert. So, and there was a phrase that was used at the start of the game in the arcade version, in the Spectrum version, and I think in future versions, where the co-driver goes, "Let's go, Mr. Driver," and that was pretty much used by kids everywhere at that time that were playing Chase HQ. So Chase HQ was my first choice. Have a look at the arcade version from 88. It's pretty good. There were versions on the Game Boy. I remember having that. I think possibly even PlayStation 1, a later on version, but the original arcade version is very good. The other one, because I'm kind of cheating by going with two, but it's just that I didn't really research some of the other ones that I might have gone with. But one game that I always come back to, and this is slightly cheating, you'll probably tell me this isn't a game, is Championship Manager.
Wasn't Championship Manager one where you just deal with the stats and everything?
It's like Football Manager, but I played like Championship Manager, but it was like Celtic. It was purely for Celtic. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that would have been on the
starting sectarian things here, but
that would have been a
Tell me about it. I love the sports balls. Great.
So Anton, you're going to love this. So, so basically, I think the game you played would have been PlayStation 2. I remember there being a series of games specifically made for clubs and fans of clubs. So Championship Manager started out in 92-93 season. And it was purely a stats spreadsheet type game where you managed your team, bought players, sold players, blah blah blah. It ran all the way through till 2001, 2002, and then it became Football Manager, which it is still today, and you can get it on the iPad. It just came out last week as the new Football Manager. There's a Football Manager Touch, which is slightly more advanced, and then the full version for your Mac and PC. Now, Championship Manager 01-02 is the definitive version. I can see you all glazing over here, but I'm telling you, there are people out there who will know exactly what I'm talking about. In terms of the layout, in terms of the design, the players at the time, everything was just right, and it was a particularly beautiful spreadsheet. Now, I know none of you are ever going to check that out. Can tell.
I love spreadsheets. It's my favourite.
Contradiction there.
But trust me on this, that is the definitive version. If they just stuck with that when it became Football Manager, and Championship Managers who do their own thing don't even look at the new Championship Managers, they're terrible. But if they'd stuck with that formula, it would have been the beautiful game that it was in 2001, 2002. I will not go on anymore. That's why I picked Chase HQ first, because I knew this would happen, and I knew you would all just kind of fall asleep while I'm speaking. But there you go. There are my 2 retro choices. Pick
Michael,
one of those for
what was your
check out.
Halloween costume?
This year? Say again?
Was it not a Subuto guy?
Oh yes, of course. This year, right? Sorry, I was thinking. Of,
He was like,
okay,
what was your Halloween costume in 1991, Mike?
that was what I was trying to figure out. I was like, I didn't know you then, Shaun. So yes, I was dressed up as a Subbuteo man. So I used to play Subbuteo as a kid, which is a flick kick game. Yeah. The closest thing, there was a Subbuteo game released on the DS. I can't remember the name of it, but it was basically Subbuteo for the DS. But there was a game which was very close to that style, which would have been Sensible Soccer, I would say. Or Kickoff was another kind of similar top-down football game, which I would recommend checking out. But Sensible Soccer, if you want to go a little bit more interactive than spreadsheets, check out Sensible Soccer. There you go. That's my retro bit done.
There's only 2 soccer games that I liked: Sensible Soccer and Virtua Soccer. Was it Virtua Soccer?
Virtua Striker.
Was it Virtua Striker? The Sega one. It was the 3D Sega one. It was like one of Sega's first AM2 arcade ones.
I think Striker might have been Dreamcast.
Yeah, I think it came out in the Dreamcast eventually. That's the only one I liked, because it was like a Sega game at the time. I was like, oh yes, man, a Sega game. But
yeah. Arcadey football games of the 90s were kind of fun because they weren't particularly accurate, and you could have a bit of fun with them. And there was a great game called Red Card, where the object was pretty much to get yourself sent off and to cause as much mayhem as possible, and you might have appreciated that one. I think that might have been PlayStation 2, but yeah, I know I'm in the minority here when it comes to football games, but Championship Manager 0102, I'm going to stick with that, and I'm not going to apologise for it either.
Remember, there was a good, I don't understand what a sports ball is, firstly, but there was a really good football game on the Neo Geo Pocket Color. And it's just like, when they get to a point where they're just arcadey nonsense, it's like, when it gets to the point where it's like slightly past football, and it's like, that's good. Like, they also had a Mega Man game. Yeah. That was a sports ball game, and I was like, that's a good game.
Mario Strikers. That's quite cool as well.
Yeah, I'd be making check that out.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So there we go. Is there anything else that we need to let people know about before next week, Kat?
Yeah, one thing. Oh, sorry, Kat, on you go.
What, was I supposed to start a rant now about Dishonored?
I don't know, I just
feel
assumed
like that's been due. Yeah, basically, I pre-ordered the collector's edition in June during E3. I was super excited. As we know, it came out on the 11th of November. I was told 2 days before this in an email from the shop I will not mention the name of, that the only place you could pre-order it from in the UK, just so I couldn't get it anywhere else, that my order had been cancelled. They tried to make out that it was PayPal or something, even though I phoned PayPal and it wasn't. It was basically that they had somehow mucked up the price of it. It was meant to be much more expensive than I had agreed to pay for it, which they were like, oh no, we'll honour that. But they didn't tell me anything about when I would get it, what was happening. And every time I phoned, they were just like, no, it says it's been cancelled. Sorry to their customer service, but that's what they were saying. And I'm sure that's all it said in their computers, but I was just like, look, everybody, I'm supposed to have this game. I was doing holiday when it came out, so I was like, fair enough if it's not there when I'm back, then whatever. I couldn't have played it at the weekend anyway. But still, I had to phone them up a few times, and I tweeted them, and I direct messaged them, and I've not received my £10 gift card, I'm just gonna say. But I got the game and everything. I got it, and it's amazing though. It's so cool. The mask replica properly is like life-size Cosmos mask.
It's good to bring in.
It's so cool. I've not taken it out of the box yet.
You have to wear it whilst we're doing the podcast.
I've like taken it out to look at it through the plastic and gone like, I need to plan where this is going.
Yeah.
Put it back
That's
in.
promised to wear it next week at the podcast, because we're filming that one, aren't we?
Possibly, who knows? Maybe.
Could maybe get a picture up on the Facebook page or something.
Of Cat with the mask on. Can I add to like Cat's rant there regarding Game? Game to me, by the way, is becoming quickly the scourge of retail shops for game stuff. How many times they oversubscribe pre-orders that they can't fulfill?
Did this not happen with Fallout?
Oh, they've done
last
loads
year?
of things, yeah. All the time, like they always take pre-orders that they didn't have enough stock for, and it really annoys me that these companies are allowed to do this. They'll just say willy-nilly, pre-order this, they get all this money coming in, but they didn't have enough stock to think about it. So you're putting money aside, putting it, waiting for it, you're getting excited, maybe you've bought it for a birthday present, a Christmas present, and then 2 days before you get told it's not available, and you're like, well, I could have bought this elsewhere.
The thing was with my one, like the collector's edition, I could not get it anywhere else in the UK. In America, at least you had GameStop and somewhere else. Maybe even Amazon actually, and from the Bethesda actual store you could buy it for just purely in America, not over here. Because I looked, I was like, surely there's somewhere else I can get this, but no.
We need to find a contact in America and Japan that can get us these things for us.
It's even worse is I've actually been into a shop and then gone up, it's like, I pre-ordered this game, it's like, yeah, it didn't come in. It's like, okay, so what's the point of a pre-order?
Well, I used to work there, to be fair, everyone, a few years ago. We used to work there, and it was really fun working there, so I'm not going to diss them too much, because I know it's annoying, and I know some of these things are out of your control. And
well, I've got my pitchfork, I'm ready to go hunting.
well, I'm not too, I was annoyed about the whole thing, but I've got it now, so my anger's abated, so I'm okay now.
One last thing we have to talk about was, we said before we were going to maybe do a competition at some stage. I think we were all talking about maybe doing something where if anyone left us a review on iTunes, or if you left us a comment about something we've discussed this week, maybe we can get someone to give us feedback on something specific, Michael, I don't know, and then we can maybe put up a prize for it. I've got a couple of things here from SmallFryUnify I can maybe put up that can go as prizes. We won't tell people what they are until we do the draw or something like that, but if people want to leave us
random game goodies,
if people want to leave us a review, then chuck that up on iTunes, and anyone that's left us one will be entered into it automatically, I think, something like that.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
That sounds nice.
Awesome. One last thing I want to add, and I know we said that was one last thing, but Anton, thank you very much for making me spend more money, because I've gone and bought myself a Bandai Wonder Swan.
Yes, I'm slowly infecting it. I'm like, after I heard you saying that, I was just like looking at my game collection of consoles. I'm like, which one could I sell Michael next? How can I make his wallet hate me? So I have a few ideas, so get ready.
Okay, good. No, I look forward to it. I have to say that I'm very excited. I thought it was going to be here today. It hasn't arrived yet. I also thought I was going to get my NES Mini, which should be here in the next day or two, because a friend bought it for me as a present for leaving a company. So I know I have one, and I've promised not to sell it on eBay for 4 times or 6 times or 8 times the price, because that's what they're going for.
Could you drop it off here just for a couple of weeks? Leave it on me, leave it on me.
So to translate that statement, he's got 5 of them, but only 4 are going on eBay.
Right, that's it then. That's episode 4. I can't believe we're already through the first 4 episodes, but there we go. This has been the longest one so far, and that's good, because it means we probably could speak for another 3 hours, but we won't, because we want to keep this commute friendly. So that's it for episode 4. We'll be back next week.
Next one's going to be videos, hopefully. Next one's going to be videos.